All right, so let's look at solving one of these three-step problems. Now in this, again, as always, first thing we're going to do is identify the given and what we want to find. Again, your given normally is going to be a number and a unit with a substance. So we have a number, unit, and substance here. So that is going to be our given, that 100 grams of C3H8. And our wanted usually is going to start with how many grams, how much, something like that. So it says right here, so this is the actual question that we're being asked. So it says how many grams of carbon dioxide gas are produced. So we want to know how many grams of carbon dioxide. So that is going to be our wanted. Now for this, again, before we get started really with those conversion factors, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label my equation so it's a little easier for me to think about what steps I need to take. So we're going to start with that 100 grams of C3H8. We're going to have to go all the way through the equation to the CO2 and come back out of our equation with some amount of grams of CO2. So we're going to start here, we want to end here. So that's going to tell us how we're going to go from one end, or from our given, to what we want, kind of using that equation. So for our conversion factors, we start with grams. So we're going to need that molar mass of C3H8. We also end with grams, so we're going to need the molar mass of CO2. Now if I'm going to find my molar mass, of course I'm going to come over here to my margins. I'm going to look at C3H8 first. So in C3H8 I've got 3 carbons and I've got 8 hydrogens. The mass of carbon on our periodic table is going to be that 12.01. Mass of hydrogen is going to be 1.01. So the mass from carbon is going to be 36.03. The mass from hydrogen is going to be 8.08. So now we're going to take this and we're just going to add it together. So that is going to be 44.11. Let's do pink. Grams of C3H8 are equal to 1 mole of C3H8. So that's going to be one of our first conversion factors. We also see that we have grams of CO2, so we're going to need the molar mass of CO2. So again, I'm going to come over here. I've got 1 carbon with a mass of 12.01, 2 oxygens, each of them have a mass of 16, so 32 total. So then our mass, our molar mass of carbon dioxide is going to be that 44.01 grams of carbon dioxide is going to be equal to 1 mole of carbon dioxide. So we have what we need to go into the equation, we have what we need to come out of the equation, but we need to go through the equation. So to go from moles of C3H8 to moles of CO2, we are going to need that mole ratio. So we're going to look at those coefficients. We don't have a coefficient on C3H8, so that means that we are only going to have 1 mole of C3H8. And then our chemical equation tells us that for every 1 mole of C3H8 we have, we're also going to have 3 moles of CO2. So now we have the conversion factor to go into our equation, we have the conversion factor to go through our equation, and we have our conversion factor to come out of the equation. So we can go ahead, put this in that T-chart. So as always, we're going to start with that given. So we're going to start with 100 grams of C3H8. To go into the equation, because we start with grams, we are going to need the molar mass of C3H8, so this first conversion factor. I want the units to cancel, so I'm going to put the grams of C3H8 side on the bottom. So 44.11 grams of C3H8. Again, I'm putting this down here so that those units will cancel. Whatever that is equal to is then going to go above it. So it's equal to 1 mole of C3H8, so I'm going to put 1 mole of C3H8 on the top. So now this unit's going to cancel. I've got moles of C3H8 in the top. That is not what I'm looking for, so I'm going to keep going. Now, I have to go through my equation, so I'm going to go ahead and use my molar mass. I have moles of C3H8 on the top, so I'm going to need them on the bottom. And then whatever that is equal to is then going to go on the top. So now we're at carbon dioxide, but we want to know the moles, or sorry, the grams of carbon dioxide, so I'm just going to keep going. So right now I'm here. I want to come out of my equation, so I'm going to have to do grams of CO2. So I'm going to look at the molar mass of CO2. I have moles of CO2 in the top, so I'm going to want that in the bottom next, so that unit's going to cancel. And then whatever that is equal to is then going to go above it, so the 44.01 grams of CO2 are going to go on top. So now I have grams of CO2 in the top, which means I am good to go. All of my units cancel except for that one. So then I'm going to take all of those top numbers, multiply them together, and then divide them by all of those numbers on the bottom. Get the top and the bottom number, whatever that is equal to, is then going to be your grams of CO2.